I knew my place at the annual holiday dinner, sitting quietly while my family used my personal life as cheap comedy for our relatives. My older sister had just poured another glass of wine, raised her hands for attention, and asked the entire room why a 35-year-old woman was still living completely alone. Everyone around the table burst into laughter, including my mother, who casually dismissed my embarrassment as harmless teasing. They assumed I was just a quiet failure who would swallow the humiliation, but I decided that night was the exact moment I stopped protecting their feelings. I set my glass down, looked my sister dead in the eye, and told the entire room that I had been married for over a year. The sudden silence in the dining room was so heavy you could hear the ice melting in the glasses. My mother froze mid-toast. My father stared at me like I was a complete stranger, and my sister lost her arrogant smile in an instant. Before anyone could process the shock, I placed my hand directly over the confidential business proposal. My family had spent 6 months preparing for a massive private investor. They had been begging for a meeting with this wealthy developer for months, without realizing he was the man I went home to every single night. But the biggest shock was still sitting on the table right in front of us, buried inside the very document they hoped would save their failing business. My family had no idea that their golden daughter had secretly stolen my professional research, forged my authorization, and risked everything just to make herself look successful. By the time I walked out into the cold night air, their polished world was going to completely crumble. My family owned a historical restoration firm in St. Louis that specialized in preserving old theaters, city halls, and landmark buildings. On the outside, the business looked prestigious, but behind closed doors, they were drowning in unpaid invoices and massive bank loans. My father was a gentleman who avoided conflict at all costs, while my mother ran public relations and treated every major crisis like a minor inconvenience. My sister was the favored child who took credit for everyone else's hard work, while positioning herself as the creative genius. I had chosen a completely different path, working as an independent architectural acoustics consultant who solved complex sound issues for massive public spaces. It was grueling work that required advanced mathematics, material testing, and spending late nights analyzing sound vibrations inside empty buildings. My family constantly mocked my career, calling it sound decorating and reducing my expertise to adjusting speakers. They only showed interest in my profession when they needed free reports, expert advice, or introductions to wealthy city board members who could help their business. I met my husband, a brilliant structural engineer named Grant, 3 years ago while working on a massive radio theater restoration project in Kansas City. We bonded over technical calculations, a shared passion for historic preservation, and a deep mutual respect for each other's work. I kept our relationship entirely secret from my family, because they had a long history of invading my privacy and using my personal details against me. Grant understood my boundaries completely, and 18 months prior to that Christmas dinner, we married quietly in a historical archive with only 11 guests. My family never noticed the simple wedding band I wore on a silver chain around my neck, nor did they bother to ask about my life outside of their operational emergencies. They spent months trying to secure a multi-million-dollar investment from Grant's firm to save their failing company from total bankruptcy. What they did not realize was that I had already reviewed their official investor package and found dozens of pages of my own copyrighted analysis stolen without my knowledge. They had even attached a forged digital signature, claiming I had signed on as their lead consultant. After my sudden marriage announcement, my sister tried to regain control of the room by forcing a fake laugh and asking who I could possibly be married to. I unlocked my phone, pulled up our official wedding photograph, and slid it directly into the center of the dining table for everyone to see. My father picked up the device with trembling hands, while my mother stared at the image in complete disbelief and growing panic. My sister did not even care about the marriage, immediately asking if my new husband knew about their massive redevelopment proposal. I looked her in the eye and explained that my husband knew every single detail, because his legal compliance team had already flagged the submission for fraud. I flipped open the document to the acoustic summary, pointing out my stolen diagrams, private estimates, and the forged signature at the bottom of the page. My father looked horrified and turned to my mother, demanding to know how my private research ended up inside their corporate submission. My sister frantically claimed it was just a working draft, but I reminded her that submitting falsified records to an investment committee was a federal crime. My mother tried to intervene, begging me to handle the matter privately, so my wealthy husband would not walk away from a deal that could save their employees. She expected me to smooth things over, just like I had done for my entire life, but I refused to carry the burden of their choices any longer. I called Grant on speakerphone right there at the table, allowing him to officially inform my family that his firm was pulling out of the deal completely. He warned them that all communications regarding the fraud would now go directly through their corporate legal team. The room was dead silent as I ended the call, gathered my coat, and prepared to leave the house for good. My mother followed me into the hallway, begging me not to walk away, and insisting that families were supposed to fix mistakes together. I looked back at her and explained that real families do not humiliate one child for entertainment while demanding her silence to protect financial crimes. I reminded her of the time my sister stole my architectural designs for an award competition, a betrayal my mother had actively helped cover up years ago. My father walked into the foyer holding a folder of urgent bank notices, revealing that my family had even listed my name as a financial guarantor without my knowledge. He admitted that he had failed as a father by turning a blind eye to my sister's constant manipulation and greed. My sister stormed out of the dining room, screaming that I was just enjoying my revenge now that I had a wealthy husband and a successful career. I looked at her with complete pity, telling her that I never wanted to stand above her. I just wanted her to stop stepping on me. 3 days after that ruined Christmas dinner, my husband's firm formally terminated all business discussions with my family's company, triggering an immediate financial collapse. The city suspended them from future municipal contracts, the bank refused to extend their loans, and several major subcontractors began filing lawsuits for unpaid work. My father sent me a genuine letter of apology, admitting his cowardice and taking full responsibility for letting the family business exploit my talents for so long. He agreed to step down from management and supported an independent restructuring of the company assets. My mother made one last desperate attempt to save their reputation by visiting my office with a ridiculous plan for my husband to purchase their debt. She wanted me to sign off on the forged documents retroactively and claim the entire incident was just a simple administrative error between sisters. I flatly refused to shield them from accountability, offering instead to support a plan where the business was sold off to an employee-owned cooperative. She accused me of destroying our legacy, but I reminded her that protecting working people was far more important than preserving a fake family reputation. The company officially filed for restructuring. A few weeks later, and an independent review proved my sister had deliberately removed my copyright notices to deceive investors. She was barred from serving as an executive on city contracts for 3 years, forcing her to finally face the real consequences of her actions. The company assets were eventually purchased by an employee cooperative, saving 36 jobs and giving the actual workers ownership of the firm. My father took a modest advisory role with the new owners, finally finding peace working without the burden of family lies. It took several months, but my sister eventually sent a formal written retraction to every city agency, acknowledging that she had stolen my work and fabricated my approval. She admitted in therapy that her obsession with putting me down came from a deep fear of her own professional inadequacy. My mother slowly began to realize how her constant favoritism had destroyed our family, and for the first time in my life, she stopped making excuses for the past. We slowly began rebuilding a relationship, but this time, it was built on strict boundaries and genuine respect. Looking back on that night, revealing my marriage was never about getting revenge or showing off my success to people who underappreciated me. It was about standing up for the truth at the exact moment my family expected me to swallow another massive lie to keep their peace. I saved my career, protected my integrity, and built a life with a partner who values me for who I truly am. If you enjoyed this emotional story of betrayal and standing up for yourself, please hit the subscribe button right now. Also, Make sure to check out the next incredible video popping up on your screen right now for more powerful real-life stories.